This video tutorial covers creating rollovers for objects which the user can drag and drop or move around the screen. Here on the left-hand side, I've got 3 flags, and the flags all have rollovers. So the moment that my mouse is over one, I get a corresponding text object right next to it. If I click and drag, you'll notice that immediately the text disappears. When I drop it and let go, I get more information here over on the right, but every time I go back, my rollovers continue to work. And you notice that there isn't any flickering or jumping of the text as I do this step over and over. Let me show you how you do that inside ZebraZapps using our editor. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring on an image to the stage. I've already uploaded this to my project. And I'm going to place the flag right about here, and we'll put on a piece of text. And we'll make our rollover. So when the mouse is over the flag, we'll go to Out, Point and Click, define pointer over and pointer out. So when my pointer is over the flag, we want to show this text. And when the pointer is outside the bounds of the flag, we want to hide the text again. If we'd like to make a fade transition, we can go under Show to Transition Type and Fade, and we could add a ½ second. And of course, the last thing that we need to do is we need to say that this text is invisible when we start running our application. And the easiest way to do that is to go over to the inspector and say hide on run is true. We could also take a second here and make our text just a little bit bigger and change the font if we'd like. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's see how this works. We'll run it. Our text disappears. When I mouse over, I get a fade in. When I mouse out, I get a fade out. We'll go back to Edit Reset mode, and now let's work on what happens when the user moves the flag. I'm going to go ahead and select the flag and turn it to movable true. And we'll run our application just to see how this works. When my mouse is over and I move it around, you notice that the rollover text is still visible. And if I move it really fast, occasionally I can get it to flicker because my mouse actually does get outside the bounds of the flag. It's more apparent when you have set your text to show and hide instantly and not using any transition. But let's say that when we start dragging our flag, we no longer want to be able to see the text, but we've already got it set up for pointer over and pointer out to show and hide. So the challenge here is when we're moving it, our pointer for the most part is always right on top of the flag, which should be showing the text. I'm going to do a little bit of a trick. Let's open up the drag and drop section of the flag's message center, and we're going to take a look at 2 ribbons in particular. Drag Start fires the moment that the user clicks down and starts moving the object. Drag Release is fired the moment that the user stops dragging by letting go with the mouse button. On Drag Start, I'm going to go to Properties, Visibility, and to Opacity, and let go. And what I'm going to say is when I start dragging the object, this object is going to have an opacity set to 0. So essentially, it's invisible. It's important to note that under Properties and Visibility, visible, true, and false, which is the same as show and hide, is it visible or isn't it, visible, true, and false, is different than the opacity level. Here we've got it set to 100% opacity level, and if I use the little caret, I can bring it down to less than, until it's nearly invisible. You can have an object that is on the screen and technically set to visible true, but is invisible to your users because the opacity is set down to, say, 0. So the moment we start dragging our object, we're going to set the opacity of the text to 0, and the moment that we release the object, we're going to return it back to 100%. So let's see how this works. I have the rollover on mouse over and mouse out, it hides. And if I click down and start moving the object, the text disappears. In a nutshell, that's how you create a drag and drop that also has a rollover, where the rollover doesn't respond when the user is moving the object.